What's this? Drought and food shortages? Musk getting Twitter? And some introspective forgiveness. Broad topics we're covering today on Saints and Savages, where we express the duality that each person has. Joining with me is my co-host. First and foremost, the man whose head of hair migrated to his chinny chin, Brian. He is impressed.
Hey.
Good.
Get a spoon.
Oh my goodness. And for my other co-host, who probably brought receipts, the vegetarian with his own gravitational pull. Delicious Mike.
Hello, everyone. I am vegetarian, for those of you who don't know. Thank you, Blake. You ratted me out.
You outed him on
You outed me.
YouTube.
I am out of the closet vegetarian. And
How dare you? How dare you, sir? Ron Swanson would be completely disappointed in you. Right
I know, it's like the greatest disappointment in my life. It's not even like my family and friends.
It's like you got to tell your family, you're like, oh, I'm a vegetarian. Your family's like, no.
Yeah, it's not even my family and friends. It's Ron Swanson.
It is.
At least they're healthy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I guess.
Your mom thinks it's just fake.
Yeah. At least, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go freaking vegan. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, God.
Like the other Ron.
Mike gets into the basement and he finds a hamburger. He's like, I'm going to eat this real quick when no one's watching.
Hey, look, I got him to eat bacon.
Hey, I am able to eat bacon as of last year.
That's
and
matters.
for breaking news for everybody, I have had pepperoni on pizza.
No itches?
And
Hey.
I had a pretty fierce itch the first time. But then after that, started getting better because I kept eating it.
So no Peterson's daughter's carnivore diet for you, huh?
No, unfortunately, man. I mean, I really wish I could. And I mean, we can go into later why I don't eat meat, but it's not a
It's not a philosophical choice.
yeah, like I'm not averse to hunting, killing things
At all.
at all.
A license to hunt.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about some certain licenses later on that'll shock a lot of you guys. So stay tuned for that. But what do you guys say we jump into it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First thing is the oh no, I'll let you take care of tech.
All right, no worries. All right, so for today's tech segment, we have obviously, if you guys have been following the news, Twitter has been shaken up lately by the one and only African American.
You took my joke. You
did you get to use
bastard.
Yeah, if you guys haven't been seeing that joke lately, it's like libs are furious over African American owning Twitter now.
Yeah. Dang it.
So, all right, well, we'll pretend that didn't happen. You can say it later. But yeah, why don't we jump into this article really quick here? And it is where we go. Here we go.
I think
It's from the Daily Wire. So for all of our good friends at the Daily Wire, Elon Musk is putting his money where his mouth is.
Sure.
Oh, Elon Musk is putting his money where your mouth is. Even better.
Whoa.
I mean, that kind of sounds a little bit,
Delicious.
you know, like you need to bring a spoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, if freedom of speech is taken away, the dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. I don't know what Elon Musk is thinking now that he's bought 9% of Twitter, but this quote from George Washington deserves Musk's attention and his action. For the sake of America's future, he needs to shake up the social media company until it and all the big tech once again respect the freedom of speech. Twitter has never done well by the First Amendment. The company has a long and terrible track record of censoring people, all the way up to the former president of the United States. The company seems to have a special dislike for those who hold American ideals and believe in timeless principles and traditional morality. If you say something that goes against the worldview of techies who make Twitter's algorithm, be prepared to be silenced and possibly banned. This also includes satire, poking lightheartedness, fun at cultural elites is not even accepted anymore. What do you guys think about this? You know, what do you guys think of Elon? I mean, I think a lot of people don't even really consider him a conservative, but he's a big, like, you know, I guess the First Amendment advocate.
Yeah, from what I hear, I mean, he's, people keep using the term libertarian. I don't know if I'd use that term for him, but who knows? I don't think you can really pigeonhole him, but I mean, he's a big global warming guy, obviously. Like, he really wants to get off planet Earth.
Yeah, it's true, though.
He wants to terraform.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey.
But, I feel like he's a different type of global warmist, right? Like, advocate. I think he's a more practical one, right? Like, he understands that it's happening, but at the same time, he's like, we're not going to shut off all oil like immediately because that'd be stupid.
In fact, you need to be drilling right now.
You need to be drilling.
Yeah.
And we're talking about oil, not other things.
Yeah, but with Twitter, it's like, the one thing is like when I finally heard this, I was like, you know what? It's like those stories you hear about people when they got drunk and then they realize it's like, what the hell did I buy on Amazon? It's like, did he wake up and was like, did I buy Twitter? Did I get drunk and buy Twitter?
He probably got high.
Yeah, he's smoking a massive blunt like on Joe Rogan and just decided to. He's like, screw it, I'm going to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
I just hope the pendulum doesn't swing the other way. He has said a lot of insightful things and he's a very smart guy, but I feel at times he can be a little full of himself and think that he has expertise in areas that he does not have expertise in. But
hey, man, you got to give him some credit, though. Like, he knew nothing about, like, mechanical engineering or, like, engineering, like aerospace engineering. He taught himself all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how he, like, built SpaceX, like, rockets, right? So, I mean, the dude is smart. There's no denying that. Does he have, like, a certain weird preferences for, like, especially women or, other stuff? Yeah.
Naming kids?
Yeah, naming kids. Yeah, gosh.
I still don't know how to pronounce.
I don't even. I'm just like,
It's like a password for a computer.
That's so true.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, that now that he has bought Twitter, I will continue not having a Twitter account.
Good. Nor will I.
Yeah, for those of you guys watching, a lot of other channels will pull up tweets and stuff. We do not because we hate Twitter, and we'd be banned immediately.
I'm not gonna say I didn't have a Twitter at one point in time. I never used it.
I have a Twitter and I follow 3 people, and I think I checked it back in 2018 was the last time I checked it.
Yeah, I mean, I never got into Twitter or anything like that.
It's just a crap flinging contest. That's all it is. You just go in there just to burn people, just to go in there and make a fool out of yourself. And I think that Twitter is probably highly responsible for a lot of these teens who are contemplating suicide, who have this low self-esteem of themselves. We look at young girls right now. I mean, their self-esteem levels are like absolutely through the floor, whether it's from Instagram or from Twitter. But, I think that, I can hope that maybe he turns Twitter around. I don't necessarily think he will, but maybe he might open the door a little bit for a little bit more open dialogue and debate and not sitting there censoring everybody, which would be cool, but I don't have hope.
It's interesting because even though like the news just broke that he owns almost 10% of Twitter, more than BlackRock and Vanguard, he was actually just appointed to the board of Twitter. So it's like, Elon just walked in and just slapped his dick on the table and just like he's like Angwar or Angmar or whatever the dude's name is. He's like, I want to be on the board.
Yeah, he's like who's this scruffy bearded nose pierced hippie sitting in my chair? It's Jack Dorsey. Oh. Yeah, get out of my chair.
You look homeless.
Jack Dorsey's even there anymore.
He's not.
Oh, no. The CR. He got pushed out when they restructured because they wanted to do like more subscription based stuff apparently. Yeah. And the new CEO is like some dude Angwar or something.
Oh yeah. Well, I did hear that Elon does not like the current CEO.
Yeah.
But I also have heard something. I think Ben Shapiro was talking about Jack Dorsey, where he was saying it's like, I think all the censorship is, I'm to blame for that. It's like, no crap, idiot. What did you think was going to happen? Now that you're on the outs and now that you're not in Twitter anymore, it's like, well, I'm going to bear all my sins now. It's like, thanks.
I'm curious what other standards he's going to improve. Is it just like, hey, we can't censor or ban anyone? Or is he going to have additional standards or changes? Like, how do you change your Twitter policy in such a way to advocate for more discussions and more discourse in Twitter?
Well, it's interesting because he was putting out like tweets, poll, like he put out a poll saying like, hey, how many of you guys think like that Twitter is like the what is it, the public forum of the world now, and like how many of you guys think it's being censored right on to a certain side, and like 30% of people were like, no, it's not. It's like, it's okay. It's great. And then like the rest is like, obviously against that. But he's like, vote carefully. This will have consequences. And then that's when he disclosed that obviously he bought 10% of Twitter, and almost 10%. So it's interesting, man. I do definitely think that he might shake things up a little bit. I don't really have faith because I'm a total, just pessimist on things like this. But even if he like throws a wrench in it for a little bit or does a little bit of whatever, blowing it up, then who cares?
What if he just trolls it? Like he buys it. You're already seeing the stock go up.
Yeah.
He just talks it up, and everybody starts buying it. And then he just dumps the shares and just throws it.
Well, now that he owns it, imagine if he just like starts putting all these tweets that would immediately have gotten people banned, and he can't get banned because he's like the majority owner.
What can Brown do for you?
He just starts retweeting Trump, like all his old tweets.
he just like, hey Trump, just send me the tweets you want. Quote from Trump, and then just post like all the tweets. That'd be freaking hilarious, man.
That would be.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have hope for it, but it would be interesting because one, he owns Tesla, he has Starlink, so imagine
he has SpaceX, he has the Boring Company, like he has a lot of things.
Well, the censorship isn't just here in the United States; it's all over the world when it comes to these things. And what if he just sits there and says, screw all of you guys. We're not going to censor Twitter. Anybody can use it in any country. Using use of Starlink, whatever it may be. I mean, that could be a big thing. I don't necessarily know how it would fit in with his Tesla. Whether or not having a Twitter in a Tesla would be beneficial.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, man. That he's planning to try to put like Twitter in Teslas, and that way they can't get rid of.
What would you do with that though? That's what I don't understand.
Twitter while you're driving. This is my location. Lols. I don't agree with that.
You could start mean tweeting people as you're driving by them. Get out of the way, idiot.
Yeah, find a Twitter account of the guy next to me and send him a mean tweet. You cut me off, asshole.
Give him a thumbs down, Boo. Get a spoon.
I don't know, man. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, we'll see what this quarter brings for Twitter, man. But I think, the stock went up like, what is it, like 25 points or something?
Yeah,
ever since he got on Twitter. And it was tanking before that.
It was like $30 a share, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it had been tanking since like Jack Dorsey got fired, and then just Twitter sucked and everybody was hating it because they were censoring everybody.
I mean, they give it so much credit, but actually, from what I understand, Twitter actually doesn't have that many people on it, so it really doesn't have that much of an influence.
It isn't
Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, it's not the social media platform choice. TikTok is the big one now. Yeah. Everyone does everything on TikTok.
Don't even get us started on that one right now, man. That thing is freaking brainwashing to the max on the youth of today, man.
And it provides facial training data to China.
Oh yeah, like facial recognition, all of that is being sent to China through TikTok. Absolutely.
Didn't Trump block TikTok for a little bit?
He actually banned him. He did ban him. I think for like a week or something. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I forgot what happened. Like the courts like unblocked it or something like that.
Right. He could not get it past to like, hey, China's using this as malicious software. Let's get rid of it. And people are like, no. And then oddly enough, Parler gets shut down rather quickly. Anyway, it's crazy.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Wrong. Yeah, do you guys remember that when Parler just immediately got shut down from AWS from Amazon?
Yeah.
Like Amazon literally just flipped a switch and they're like, nope.
Yeah. It's crazy how we can have intelligence that one app is bad, providing data for people that you probably don't want to be using. This other one is just a platform people want to say what they want to say. That one people keep, the other one they shut down instantly. It's crazy. But China has crazy advanced facial recognition software. Their police officers have glasses that can recognize their citizens, and it pulls up their like social security, their credit report, and all the crimes they've done. It's bizarre. It's Big Brother society.
Well, I mean, during the height of the pandemic, when it started, they had drones flying around and like tracking to see if people were leaving their homes, and if they did, like the drone would fly down and be like, "Return to your home," or you would be arrested.
Yeah,
it's like what?
Like, where's my pizza that I ordered? This isn't the pizza I asked for.
Did you hear about the drone delivery service in Australia? People were shooting the drones down to steal pizzas.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future will be drone delivery, definitely. And there will be like highway corridors up in the air, and drones will just be using that to deliver, and they'll be able to like drop down towards street level and then deliver stuff. But
well, I'm all about the self-driving cars. I'm not into the whole global warming thing, but I understand. I understand Musk's, perspective on this. Okay, that's fine, but I do love his idea of cars, self-driving. I am not a fan of driving. Like, I want a big old diesel, truck. I love those things. They're amazing, and I want one bad. But I still think that a self-driving vehicle, especially when you have to drive halfway across the country or all the way across the country, man, just turn that thing on. You can sit there and you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
You can watch
Record a podcast.
whatever, sleep. Yeah. Once that gets going, I think that's going to be a great idea. And then the whole thing with trucks too, with freight, self-driving trucks. You're talking about bringing down the costs of everything, right?
Yeah, but truck drivers don't want that.
Oh no, exactly. Yeah,
the unionization.
Yeah, but guess what? Tesla's not. They're not union, so they don't care.
Well, I mean, I think Tesla already started working on an order for like UPS to like give them electric trucks and all that kind of stuff. I don't know when that's rolling out, if it is, but imagine like they become autonomous too. UPS, imagine if it wasn't like just freight, if it was just UPS and like Amazon that were automated.
Maybe Amazon can actually get a package to my right door.
Yeah,
you seem a little salty about something.
Oh, who isn't? It's like these UPS or UPS. I'm not going to blame UPS because actually UPS does a pretty decent job. But Amazon, they are always dropping off packages at the wrong place, or you get that little text message that says it's been delivered. Oh, looking out my front door, there's nothing there. So maybe if we get these self-driving vehicles and they deliver stuff, maybe that might be a little bit better. Because then they'll say, hey, the truck's out in front. You go out and get your package.
Yeah, until they always go to the wrong address because of GPS. I mean, we'll see.
I don't understand, man. How long has Google had to be able to like run their little cars around to like get the addresses right? I don't
still
understand.
See them driving around all over the place.
I mean, like they can taxi you to Kingdom Come if you like live in the little shack out in like the mountains of the peaks of Colorado. But they can't get a package to you? Like, I don't understand, right?
I've noticed several times when I type my address in a GPS. I mean, it'll get me to the neighborhood, but it'll either be 1 or 2 or 3 houses off.
No.
So
you just bought your new house, but Blake he lived like literally 3 apartments down from me.
Yes.
And we couldn't order pizza from the same place because apparently there's some invisible line between our 2 places. So he had to order pizza from like across the town, and mine was right around the corner.
Yes. My phone app did the one 10-15 minutes away rather than the one where you could walk 5 minutes away.
So you just every time you need a pizza, you just call up Brian. Like, Brian, need a pizza for me. Brian's like, that'll be a 1% surcharge, service charge.
Yeah. Not to burst your bubble on the smart cars, but the machine learning algorithms they have for the cars to identify stop signs and other things, they use a random tree method to like develop how to recognize these things, and they pick up different patterns on the stop signs. But if you spray paint over them, they don't recognize them anymore. They'll drive right through. Sure. And people have learned different patterns, and they'll just like draw scribbles on a whiteboard and stand there, and the Tesla will pick it up for some reason as a stop sign and just stop prematurely. So
imagine it's like a picture of a big old penis. It's like immediately like slams on the brakes.
It honks.
You are here.
You are here.
Yeah.
I've been dicked.
I mean, we had a friend temporarily that was telling us he used to work for Tesla, and he said that they have a pretty good AI learning algorithm where it's constantly learning new things as it's driving. And so it's picking up all these different...
Yeah, it's learning. It's machine learning. That's what it is, AI.
It takes some time. I'm actually excited for quantum computers because that will make machine learning algorithms 1,000 times more efficient.
I love sci-fi. You don't know what it is? Quantum.
I know. Have you guys seen quantum healing on like yoga places? Irks me to my core. It makes me rage.
Quantum healing?
Quantum thought.
We have to go through the butt.
Quantum. Yeah. No.
You see the spoon here? This is for quantum healing.
Guess, am I inside or outside your butt? Both at the same time.
What do you guys think of the notion that like the social media companies and platforms should be like utilities, like gas and electric?
Ooh,
no, absolutely not. No, social media should be platforms. You are not an editor. You have a platform. All your job is simple. They're overcomplicating it. Your job is simple. Just keep off the weirdos off of there. Keep the child off there. Keep all the death stuff off of there. That's easy, But if people want to say stupid things, they can say stupid things. If Grant Thumb, for instance, right, does great videos on shooting, And from what I heard, like they were trying to go after him for a little bit, about the comment section, right? Because he always jokes that the comment section is out of hand.
It's hilarious, dude.
And if you ever have a chance, just go to Grand Thumb's videos and you just go read through his comment sections. They are absolutely hilarious. But they were trying to go after him and like shut him down because, you're responsible for the comments. No, you're not.
How are you supposed to do that?
Yeah, it's like I have nothing to do with that.
If that's true, then you should just go to like all these like radical left leaning and just start like posting like all these the same comments that appear on Garen Thumb's channel and see what happens. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, then are you also on Twitter, or are you responsible for comments for people if you say something, and then they come out and they're out of line? No.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I think social media, they've overcomplicated. It should just be a platform. The public utility thing. All you're doing with that is you're opening up Pandora's box for government control again, right?
Yeah, for government oversight.
Why would you want to give government more control of anything?
Yeah, you just do, like you said, your community guidelines. They aren't posted anywhere. Real simple. No scenes of death, no pornography, and cyberbullying. None of that. I can't think of other things you would want on a social media platform besides those three things.
Yeah.
But you don't need any more regulation than that.
Well, the most regulation you need is parenting. How about that? Don't let your kids on social media until they're of a certain age, okay? Yeah. I mean, we see this epidemic right now of suicide rates that we just talked about, depressions. Who's that famous singer? Billie Eilish, right? It's like massive depression. I'm not saying it's necessarily social media, but as someone her age, you have these massive depression. I have to think that social media does play a part in that somewhere. But they have done studies on these young girls, and I think it actually affects young girls more than young boys, because boys are just like, yeah, you know what, meet me outside. Yeah. But I think social media plays this part because you know what, you don't know who you're talking to. There's no more repercussions anymore, right?
Anonymity brings the worst out of people.
But I've always joked about it, but I am kind of real about it. I'm like, you need to bring back dueling, right? There needs to be repercussions for things that you say. Yeah. Okay, you're gonna talk trash to me. There needs to be something, right? Now, granted, trash you can let it roll off or whatever, but you get into cyberbullying, it's like, all right, well, you want to bully me? Why don't you come see me face to face and we'll see what happens then? You're not gonna cyberbully Jocko Willink,
or here's a novel idea, just block them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whatever, man. I think censorship on social media it's gotten out of hand, and it's just become another political weapon.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. Well, so what can you do about it? It's so prolific nowadays.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you had who's that famous astronaut? He's
Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember that. He was at some restaurant or something like that, and some social media douche went up to his face and started talking trash to him. So he punched him in the mouth. Right. Oh. Everybody was clutching their pearls like, oh, God. He's like, he comes from another generation where if you insult his honor, he's going to punch you in the mouth.
You know how old he is? He doesn't care. He's Buzz Aldrin. He's not going to jail.
And he laid that guy. Yeah, he's a national hero. He laid that guy out too,
Can you imagine? It's like, bitch, I went to the moon.
That was a soundstage.
I was in a tiny little capsule.
Breathing farts for 30 days.
We had to store our pee. Do you know what your words mean to me? Nothing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Apollo 11? I was in the same ship.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, but if you go to somebody's face and you talk trash to them, now it's like, that veil isn't there anymore. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get handled. So
yeah, it's hilarious to see like when people somebody actually like just knocks somebody out, that like you're like, he totally deserved it. Sucks, but he totally deserved it.
Was that guy a flat earther or something, calling him a conspiracy theorist?
No, man. The guy just came up to him was just ragging on him, I think, for his like political beliefs and stuff. He's just like, the moon landing was fake or something like that. And the dude just like,
yeah, no matter what, it's like, why would you do that anyway?
Yeah. In a diner.
Yeah. You know what? There's plenty of people I disagree with. But if I see them in public, I'm not going to go up to them and make a deal out of it. It doesn't matter if I'm diametrically opposed to somebody. Like I'm not saying I don't hate the guy or anything like that. I don't. I have no ill will towards him. But I met Farrakhan, right? Refused to shake my hand. Said some stuff under his breath, and I just kept it moving. I'm not gonna sit there and get in the man's face and do all this stuff. I was trying to be nice.
Yep.
Hey, whatever. Keep it going.
Stick and stones may break my bones, but I don't care what you say.
Yeah, it's this aspect of emotional resiliency that you can have calm, consistent emotions despite your outward environment, it's really lost on people. Oh, they said something, therefore I have to feel bad. Or I feel hangry, so I'm going to lash out. You are in control of your emotions, not your emotions in control of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a sad world we live in that, a comment on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, it's considered violence now. I don't understand.
Violence is an objectable fact. It is not your feelings or your perception of the situation.
I mean, just wait till if there's a world war or something, be like, you missed that
well, this is just leading
that online violence now, don't you?
Well, this is just leading to the bigger topic of, do you censor speech, right? Is the First Amendment absolute? Are you allowed to say whatever you want to say, right? I mean, that same mindset of I could swing my arm anywhere I want to go as long as I don't hit anybody with it. Well, I'm of the belief, I'm like, say whatever you want to say. Obviously, yes, you can yell fire in a theater, right? That's not illegal. But if you call to action, everybody should go after this person and hunt them down, or everybody should go after these people and get in their face. Maxine Waters, I'm looking at you. That is not freedom. You don't have the freedom of speech to do that. But if you want to call somebody a douche, or if you want to say something about somebody, as long as it's, liable, then, if you say something liable, then yeah, you get to go to court with it,
Yeah, definitely.
There's always consequences, repercussions to your actions. But I think freedom of speech does not need guardrails. It's either you have freedom of speech or you don't, and this whole thing of hate speech. What's hate speech? It hurts your feelings.
That's the thing. Like when you ask somebody to describe it, the definition of it, they're like, oh, well, they just skirt around the issue.
Well, no, then if you get into it, you're like, well, then who gets to decide what hate speech is?
Yeah.
Who's going to do this? Well, we're gonna pick a group of people. Who are these people? They can't ever say that, because they understand that it's like, well, if it comes down to it, I'm going to try to pick people, or I'm going to advocate for people who think more along the lines of me, right?
Yeah, tribal lines, unfortunately. So.
The legal limits of free speech: slander, libel, threats. Does hate speech follow under any of those things? You could say that's threatening you, but these have specific definitions that, oh, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to kill you.
But it's subjective too, right? Like something that somebody says online to some person, it might seem like violent or threatening. To somebody else, it can mean absolutely nothing. So it's subjective. Again, it's just words. Just block them.
Yeah,
there's nothing. What else you can do?
But people forget too. It's like, if you go back to when the Nazis went to Chicago, and I forget where it was, and around the time from, I think it was in the 80s. I think, it was the whole thing with the Blues Brothers, but you had the Nazis out in Chicago, and you actually had the Jewish community that came out and allowed them to speak. They wanted to shut it down, and the Jews in that area, which was a lot of Jews from survivors of the concentration camps, were out there because they were like, no, you have to allow these people to speak. But the thing is like, allow them to open up their mouths and remove all doubt about how much of an idiot these people are. Let them speak. No, right. Keep talking. AOC, I'm one of those. I'm like, let her talk, man. Don't shut her down. The more she speaks, the more she proves herself to be an idiot. And I'm all about that.
The more receipts I get, man. I'm just stacking them. You should see I have a filing system. Receipts are just getting stacked.
But if you have a bunch of concentration camp survivors out there supporting the right, they're not supporting the Nazis, not by any stretch of imagination. They are supporting the idea of freedom of speech. If Jews can do that, you can allow someone to say some dirty words about your mom. Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't that New York in the 90s?
Chicago.
It was Chicago? Because I'm pretty sure the guy who ran the ACLU at the time, who was Jewish, was involved in that court case to let them do this. Because the thing about Nazis, like, that doesn't exist in a free speech environment. Hitler had to kill his political opponents, restrict the press in order to get this idea of Nazism to flourish. In a freedom of speech, yeah, you'll get people who are Nazis, but they will never take hold. It will never be the majority. Like you said, let them talk, and people will see how ridiculous they are. All these ridiculous ideas, yeah, we have flat earthers, we have Nazis, we have these other things, but their ideas do not take the majority when you have a freedom of speech environment.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna dig their own graves, and it's gonna, whoever follows them down there, like, you know what, like, all power to you, man. You believe what you want to believe, but we'll live in reality over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Regardless of whether it's political or religious, whatever. Like, if you have somebody out there who does not like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I will support them 100% to say whatever they want to say. But I don't have to like what they say, but I'll support their freedom to say it. I'll defend their freedom to say it, as anybody should, regardless of what it is that you disagree with. It's just a disagreement.
Right. Well, on that note, talking about affiliations with the church, unfortunately, we have a next segment. Unfortunately,
I know what this one is.
Yeah. So, our next segments are going to be our political segment. We're going to try to be segmenting our episodes from now on, just to get you guys some better news coverage. And obviously, this is at the forefront of the political spectrum at the moment, and that's Mittens. For those of you guys that don't know, that's Mitt Romney. He is a member of our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
President, dude.
I don't know, man.
Now, why do you call him Mittens?
Because that's his name, Mittens.
It's because he's got a hand up his
hands in the cookie jar, baby.
His hands in the cookie jar, man, and it's just hilarious. So
I have,
but yeah, I just wanted to point out,
what did he do?
So, as you guys have been following the political news, there is a seat in the Supreme Court up for grabs, and obviously the Senate is controlled by Democrats at the moment, and that means usually when the Senate is controlled by a certain party, they're the ones able to confirm an appointee to the Supreme Court, and at the moment that is Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is a
You can't say
radical leftist. Confused.
Obviously not a woman.
Pro little kids, bad people doing things to them, or being lenient. I don't know.
It's funny that she cannot define the thing that she is because that's what got her job. She can't define the thing that got her the job.
Well, yes, that is true.
They asked her if she supports the Bill of Rights. What the Bill of Rights says about your rights as an individual, right? Mm-hmm. And she was basically like, I don't know if I support that. And it's like, you're about to be a Supreme Court justice in the United States, and you can't tell me whether or not you support that. Automatically, you should be gone. If you can't, this is your whole job, being in politics, right? Whether you're going to be upholding law, you're upholding the Constitution of the United States of America, but you can't say whether or not you're going to uphold these values. Then how can you swear to support and defend the Constitution if you can't say you're going to support and defend the Constitution?
Yeah, man. I think the Constitution's in peril, unfortunately. And I mean, let's go to this article. It's from MSN. It's a Mitt Romney historic flip on Ketanji Brown Jackson. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar, Mittens actually voted against her appointment to the appellate court in 2018. I don't understand. And now he's flipping back to actually voting her onto the Supreme Court. Also, for those of you guys who don't know, Mitt Romney is technically a Republican, and if it would go to party line votes, then Kamala Harris would be the tiebreaker, being vice president, and obviously the appointment would go through. But then you have Mittens here and another Republican actually going to be voting for her. So
you got Alaska's governor. You have Lindsey Graham.
Yep. No, Lindsey Graham recanted. He said he's not going to vote for her. Yeah.
Wow. Man, that guy, I tell you what, though, Lindsey Graham's all about putting his finger up in the air and judging the political winds. Whichever the way they are blowing is the way he's voting.
Man, whatever way the fart's flowing, man, he's there. So I think he may have seen some polling numbers in his district and something. So.
What about McConnell? I know he said he wasn't going to vote for her. Is he still holding that line?
Oh, he's doing a line of some kind. For those of you that don't know, we call him Cocaine Mitch.
Yeah. What about the great senator from West Virginia?
Yeah, unfortunately, the one and only savior, Senator Manchin, actually is going to be voting on party lines.
Yeah,
and
of course he is
voting for the appointee.
And everybody kept after he made that vote with Republicans. I kept getting family members and people were like, "Oh, look, yeah, man, Manchin's doing a great job." I was like, "Don't fall for that crap. Don't do it.
It's all interest, man."
He gets one bad vote. All right, he gets one bad vote.
No vote. I'm from West Virginia. Vote him out. Get him out. And then all these other weak Republicans, my representative, Mooney, awesome. Solid cat. He's the only one. Those other two weak Republican congressmen, get him out. We also have one weak Republican senator, get her out.
Yeah.
And then Manchin. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going down this rabbit hole.
Anyways, let's read a little bit of the article. Here it says Mitt Romney made history in 2020 by becoming the first senator to vote to convict a president of his own party at the impeachment trial, of course. And Romney is now making a history again. The Republican from Utah announced Monday that he would support Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to the Supreme Court. That's significant for two reasons. One, because Romney had voted against Jackson for a seat on the appeals court, last year, and because it means Jackson will get at least as many crossover votes from Republicans, 3, as she did in her previous confirmation.
Dude, I firmly believe Mitt Romney does not want to be viewed as a racist, and that's the reason why he's doing that.
Oh,
because if you remember, he crushed Obama in that first political debate. I mean, crushed him. Nobody knew what to do. They were just like, holy cow, Obama was just completely outclassed. And I'm pretty sure they went to him. They're like, "Hey, dude, you need to pull up a little bit."
Yeah.
And what did we see the next political debate? Like he just like tanked it intentionally, and everybody knew it. And so I think with this, he's doing the same thing. It's like I don't want to be thought of as a racist. Even though she's not the first black nominee to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. It's such a lie. Like, oh, the first black nominee to the Supreme Court. I was like, no, it's not.
Clarence Thomas?
No.
Black woman.
Black woman, yeah. Miss Brown was nominated by George Bush.
That's right.
Yeah, and the
George W.
Yeah, and then the
and who was the one that said he was absolutely going to go after her if he was nominated? Could it be Joe Biden? No way.
No.
Oh, yes, it was.
What?
Yay.
I think I also saw a video of him using the N-word multiple times. But you know what? That's water under the bridge. So,
but Mitt Romney, it's like anytime something comes up, just know that if the Republicans snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, or is it the other way around? Snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Yeah, it's Mitt Romney, right?
Yep.
It's Romney, man. Every time, shocker.
Yeah, I don't understand, man. I mean, the fact that Joe Biden said that disappointment is not gonna be based on qualification, but on race and gender, which the appointee Ketanji can't even identify.
Yeah. I thought
is ridiculous. Like you want the best judge on that seat.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand what I mean. Her whole tenure when she gets appointed is going to be like, well, you were only appointed because you're black and a woman.
I don't care if it's a tranny midget. I don't care if it's the best judge. It does not matter, right? Yeah. That's what you want. You want the best person in this job. Yeah. And all he did was he limited his ability to pick the best judge. He pigeonholed himself.
Go for it.
How can they count this as a success of getting a woman onto the Supreme Court, black woman, when Nancy Pelosi went through so much effort to get gender terms and pronouns out of politics, out of the legislation? You can't use those pronouns.
You can't call the first black female then.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, what I think is just that low information voters, man, all they see are optics from like CNN, MSNBC, and they're just going to show, first, African American woman appointed to the Supreme Court, right? And like they don't know, like they won't do their research and go back in time and see if that's true or not. They don't. I guarantee you, most of these people don't even know that there's already an African American on the Supreme Court. I guarantee it, dude. Huh? They don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, and it's not like she's like replacing a conservative justice either. No. I mean, she's replacing what, Breyer?
Yeah, it's just replacing the same.
And they strong-armed him out.
Yeah, man, they're like, you better get out right now, because they know that in the midterms, the Senate is going to be back in Republican-controlled hands, and like that dude was like on his way out anyways. Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's all the Republicans had to do is sit there and go, look, if you want to sit there, Joe, if you want to sit there and say you're going to limit yourself and you're going to put somebody in based off the color of their skin or whatever sex they are, okay, that's fine. But guess what? It's not going to be this person. This person, if you sit there and you look at, what did they say about the child porn thing? It's like she let off 8 people off.
No, she didn't let him off, but she reduced her sentence incredibly, to like months.
Yeah, and then she actually like blamed the internet for their ability to access porn or something like that. And it's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, man. But she also said that like, their lives shouldn't be ruined by this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? Like in these crimes, like the most heinous crimes that you can think of to children and babies.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I don't want their lives ruined from this. And did you see that one of the guys that she like let off? He like commented, he's like,
reduced sentence. I'm sorry, forgive me. She said, he said, oh, it's all thanks to Judge Jackson that my life wasn't ruined by this mistake, and I'm able to reintegrate into society. I'm like, what the fudge? Well, if you can't sit there and firmly say, well, I can't say what a woman is, and how can you sit there ever say, well, I don't know what age somebody is, because if you want to identify as whatever you want to identify as, well, why can't a 30 or 40-year-old man identify as a 10-year-old boy? I identify as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people are voting for her, like, to become a Supreme Court justice after her rulings is insane. Absolutely. Yeah. But most people don't even know this, right? They will never even hear about this. That's the problem.
Or remember, any Republican that has gone up, they've like combed through their life. Like, who was it? What's his name? They went through the whole fiasco with. They went through his diaries and
Kavanaugh.
Yeah. I mean, it was like almost the day by day, hour by hour. What have you done in your entire life? And they hit him on everything, right? But with her, it's just
do you like beer? Yes, I like beer. I'm a half kick kind of guy.
Yeah. What is this little blurb in your journal right here? The fact that he had a journal for all of this stuff is amazing to begin with. But it's like with her, you actually, here you go. You have this history of her, and it's just like we're just going to gloss over all that stuff.
Well, did you see also the chair? He was like impeding questions from the Republicans.
Oh, from Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz was trying to get her to answer a question. I think it was on I want to say
it was the light sentencing on
the multiple sentences that she was light on.
Yeah, it's not just one. It's like multiple.
Yeah, multiple people. He says, how can we trust you if you've reduced all these sentences to months, like several magnitudes lower than the lowest sentencing? How can we trust you in that?
Yeah, but then the chair was sitting there saying, it's like he kept gaveling his thing, and so Ted Cruz was like, well, let her answer, and he's like, well, you won't let her answer. He's like, well, then she can answer. No, we're going to continue.
Yeah, it's like,
no, let her answer.
Yeah, that's just political showmanship. It's absolute garbage, man. It's a crap show out there, and the fact that she's going to be Supreme Court justice is it's a blight on this country. She is not a Clarence Thomas, not by any stretch of the imagination. She could not hold his water.
Yeah, if you wanted to advance Black rights and Black culture and stuff like this, like history, like this is not it, man. Like. Future generations hopefully will look back and they'll be like, "What the fudge, man?"
Yeah, I mean, you have someone like a Susan Rice that you could put in there. I mean, just a brilliant woman,
or just like the best judge out there. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe somebody who's qualified. I don't know.
But apparently, I think the Constitution, you don't actually have to be a judge.
No, you don't.
Or you have a law degree.
I think when Trump was debating on who to put for the Supreme Court pick, he talked to Ted Cruz about it or something like that, and he's like, "Hey, would you want to be the appointing?" He's like, "No."
No, he wants to fight in the Senate.
Yeah, he wants to fight, man. So
eventually, one day.
Ted Cruz has his faults too sometimes, but I think his
infinitely still better than her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
absolutely.
Kidding. I like him in the Senate where he's at. Did you know Clarence Thomas, oddly enough, least favorite Supreme Court judge of Barack Obama? Odd.
Yeah, and if you go back and you watch the videos on his confirmation hearings,
man,
Joe Biden again for the win, baby, going after him like crazy. It's like it's people forget really quick. This country has a very short memory with some things.
Yeah, or honestly, they just never know. They just never knew about it. Didn't care, didn't affect their everyday lives, so they're just like, whatever, I mean, unfortunately, the low information, everyday Americans, that's what happens. You just, I mean,
short-term memory.
I remember, man, back in the day, like, I wouldn't have known this stuff, when I was younger, I wouldn't have cared. It wasn't until like, pretty recently in the last couple of years that I'm like really like paying attention to this kind of stuff.
Well, with this thing though, with Miss Brown, what I would sit there and say is, anytime you hear somebody sit there and say such, like Joe Biden, that I'm going to hire the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, I'm only going to look for a Black woman for the Supreme Court. Okay, now flip that. All right, now imagine him coming out and saying, I'm only going to hire a white man for the Supreme Court. Is that racist? Yes. Well, then it's racist the other way around too.
Yeah.
is like, even at the strict word, you are judging someone by their race. Racist. Like, it's just at the most basic root of it. So, I mean, whether you're trying to get them in or get them out.
Can you imagine if American Airlines did that? It's like, we're not going to hire the best pilots. We're going to hire somebody because of the color of their skin or their sex. I'm like, no.
or like surgeons. We're going to hire the best African American woman surgeon. But I want the best surgeon.
Yeah. Now, if she was the best and she was valedictorian in her class, absolutely.
But I want the best.
Yes, exactly.
No. You get the first African American.
Can we do this with sports too? Can we go into the NBA and be like, you know what? I want a 5'5" Jewish guy playing point guard on the Lakers. Where are these guys?
No. The first Asian woman linebacker. Can you imagine?
Yeah, let's have diversity requirements in sports.
For everything. Yeah, let's go across the board.
Do you think the Manhattan Project would have been such a great success had they been a diversity requirement? Oh, we can't get the best scientists. We got to make sure we got female scientists and the minority scientists working on this stuff. We can't just take the top of all their fields.
But somebody's going to listen to this podcast and be like, you guys are a bunch of racists. How dare you have this conversation on this stuff? Mike, would you like to give some input on this?
Racist. You guys got a spoon handy? And here's my receipt, my immigrant card. So being a resident immigrant here in the podcast, I can officially say that nobody here is racist.
Absolutely.
There we go. So, and if you guys do think we are racist, well then...
Get a spoon.
You're our token minority guy.
I am a token minority. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Also, I heard if you're from like Poland or something, like the Caucasus, and you are also a minority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember, if you're of any skin color and you're on the right or conservative, you are a racist.
Oh, that's how it works. Yeah. Interesting.
You notice how Cubans are not considered Hispanic anymore?
Oh yeah. or the entire Asian race. Yeah, Asians got too good at making money and being in the high paying professions that they're like, no, they don't qualify anymore. It's like, what?
Yeah, they are more successful, make more money, so they can't they don't get the minority rights.
It's like, what the heck, dude?
Do you know what the largest group segment of the population that has degrees is in this country?
Asians?
Black women.
Black women.
Yeah.
Per capita or
overall?
Overall.
Are you trying to find a fault in this, Blake? Is that what you're saying?
I just want to understand the statistics.
Black women as a segment of this country are the most educated, I guess, group, which to me is like
demographic or whatever.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Also, cares?
Exactly.
Honestly, I mean, does it really matter? I don't know.
I'm just pointing out a statistic.
Whatever.
Good for them.
Thank you. Well, talking about being top in the field, our fields are looking bleak, and so are the world's wheat fields. For those of you guys who have not been paying attention, you will be in a shock in a couple months to possibly maybe even sooner.
Yeah.
Food shortages are coming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thanks to also a big part of the war in Ukraine and Russia and Ukraine being, what was it, 70% of the world's wheat supplier. Mm-hmm. So yeah, anyways, we got this great article provided to us by Mr. Brian. Do you want to read this out, man?
The ag web.
Yep. Drought robs Colorado farmers' wheat.
Yeah, remember, I think a couple weeks ago when I said, we were talking about inflation, mm-hmm. and I said that, the inflation costs of certain commodities are going to be going up, food specifically, yep. Wheat costs and all that stuff is going to be going up. That was just for inflation. And if you remember what I said in there, I was underlying something, and I said that that's only for taking into account inflation, and that all the weather that we have is perfect. We need to have perfect weather for these costs not to go up any higher. Well, guess what? Mother Nature said, F you. Colorado farmer Brian Brooks will be the first to tell you that farming in the southwest corner of the continental states isn't for the faint of heart. You can't see the wheat. You can see the wheat that is trying and barely hanging on the roots, says Brooks, a farmer in Baker County, Colorado. You can just tell how abusive this winter has been. Brooks Farmer says Baker County is the epicenter of the Dust Bowl. If you remember the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl was just added on to the sorrows that we had in this country that led to a lot of famine.
It was a famine. Let's be real here. The Dust Bowl was a famine.
Yeah, but a lot of that was also due to farming incorrectly, which we didn't know. But now the farmers know how to rotate crops. They know how to not over irrigate, and so now it's just coming down to just pure Mother Nature, which they'll probably sit there and say it's global warming,
right?
Which is not, because it's climate change, right?
I don't know. We should ask Elon Musk about it.
Anyway, so he said that this was the epicenter of the Dust Bowl, and in an area used arid climate, he says that the winter has been nothing short of brutal. The last big rain event we had was in August, says Brooks. There are a few guys that got weed up when they planted early, but the dryness took it. He thinks 80% of the dryland wheat in this area may not make it this year, with some acres of all planted wheat still barren. That's as only, I cannot read today, what the heck? That's as only a trace of moisture has materialized since fall. It's been too dry for many wheat fields to even sprout. We've had 0.4 of a moisture this year so far, and a lot of it has come as half of 1/10 here and there, just no large margin. Basically, there is going to be a significant wheat shortage.
Especially if this guy is the one. This is horribly written.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not just my reading.
This is like we're reading the Encyclopedia Britannica.
All right. So if you scroll down, there's a map on here. Might not be on this one. No, it's not on this one. It's on another one.
There's a chart.
Yeah. No, it's not that. There's a map for the climate.gov one. I don't know if you have that one on there.
I do not.
No, it's okay. So anyway, this is from climate.gov. NOAA's Spring Outlook helps build a more weather and climate ready nation by informing local decision makers and emergency managers of this spring's hazardous weather, such as extreme drought. So what is NOAA saying about drought? Well, the Spring Outlook for drought temperature and precipitation. Severe to exceptional drought has persisted in some areas of the West since the summer of 2020, and drought has expanded to the southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley. This is where all the wheat is grown. Corn's grown up in Iowa, Illinois area, if you look at the map, but down in the Texas, Oklahoma area, that's all where the wheat's going, right? So they're having severe drought. It's going to continue on with severe drought, with nearly 60% of the continental U.S. experiencing minor to exceptional drought conditions. This is the largest drought coverage we've seen in the U.S. since 2013.
Boy.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've covered this on a couple podcasts. We also know that we have issues going on in Ukraine, right? So Ukraine is not planting their wheat right now, which means if they ever get a chance to plant, it'll be a late harvest, if anything.
The earliest probably be next year, man.
And what are they? 1/3 of the wheat for Europe that they produce?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're the biggest suppliers for Europe.
Right.
Obviously, combined with Russia.
Yep. And then I don't know can you pull it up on there real quick? I know I'm just doing this on the fly, but go to marine traffic, if you remember that website. So right now, if you're paying attention at all, the Chinese are facing more COVID lockdowns, and specifically in Shanghai. So if you go to the Shanghai port, if you look at the ships that are sitting out there, you're going to see ships that are green and red. Now, if they're circled, that means they're anchored. And if you go right off the coast of Shanghai on there, there's going to be a lot of green ships that are circled, which means they're anchored. They're not going
Shanghai?
Shanghai, yeah.
Let's take a quick look.
They're just there. They're not moving anywhere. And they're looking at lockdowns for who knows how long. I think that's actually a direct quote from one of these websites, and they said that you're going to see about a 30% decrease in volume of exports out of China. And you're going to be seeing,
Here we go. We got it up.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Yeah. So if you see all the ships that are parked out there.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. The red is oil, fuel, and then the green is wheat. They're all just parked off the coast. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to get unloaded. The ships that you see are moving were already being unloaded at the time, and so they're just getting out of the port.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Is there any blue on that map? I'm seeing it from a distance.
No, it's all green, man. I mean, there's some blue intermittent, but it's mostly green.
So thick you can't see.
I mean, for those of you guys looking at this, I mean, it's astronomical the amount of ships that are in. I mean, it's already a busy port. And I mean, I'm looking at all the ports in China, right, on that coast. And
what's
crazy.
What's significant with China is that we supply them with most of their rice, but they also supply us with a lot of wheat and corn, which is interesting. But we're not going to be getting that. We have the drought that's coming in that is going to affect wheat, and then also, well, if you can't grow the wheat and barley, what are you feeding the cow? What are you feeding the cattle?
Yeah, I mean, and this thing it doesn't just affect wheat, right? It affects all production. I mean, I know California's had record droughts for the last couple years, and they've been on water conservation for a long time under the governor's orders. I think they just declared, an emergency again, and they're like rationing water again because they know this summer is going to be absolutely brutal on the crops there. And the United States, a lot of the produce that is grown in California because it's just such fertile land, right? But obviously, since they don't have water and they misuse it, you're going to see the quality of food drop. You're going to see quantity drop. You're going to see availability, and then prices skyrocket on top of that. And on top of that, you're going to see prices skyrocket because of the rising oil prices and diesel, which is used to transport all these goods across the country. And if they're not as the highest quality, they're not going to last as much, going from, let's say, California to like New York City, right? So, all of this is just shaping up to be a bad year for the supply chain.
Yeah, right now everybody's kind of optimistic because they're seeing the LA is actually like clearing out its port pretty decently. But they pushed all the ships down to Mexico basically. Yeah. They're like, oh, go park out there so we can't see you.
Well, a lot of them also left the port and they went over to Florida.
Yeah. But they to be fair, they have cleared up the port a little bit, right? But what's happening is you're getting pulses now, right, from China. You're getting these pulses. You can't handle pulses when it comes to supply chain. It has to be constant
on a schedule,
yes.
Right? That's what we're talking about.
So now what China is shutting down with their new COVID lockdowns, and it's not everywhere, but Shanghai is one of their biggest ports. And if you're doing that, you're going to start seeing these pulses again. And then the port of LA, the port in Seattle, they're not going to be able to handle these ships. I think they even opened up Oakland too. Like they're starting to let a lot more ships come through the port of Oakland, which is pretty crazy because San Francisco doesn't like anything, within the San Francisco Bay. And when I was a kid, I used to remember the Navy used to come through for Fleet Week all the time. That was like super cool. And then at one point in time, San Francisco was like, nope, we don't want that anymore. Yeah. Anyway, these pulses are just going to cause more issues with the supply chain. So right now it's like, you're seeing a little lull, but I think this is kind of like the eye of the storm.
Boy, it would have been really nice had we gotten all of our trade and factory and gas getting within the country and independent from all this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
as much as it would be nice to have that. I mean, that just doesn't happen overnight. That's like what?
Medicine.
All
of our medicine that's made in China that we're not going to be receiving here pretty soon. We're going to have shortages on that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a big project.
Yeah, unfortunately, it takes decades, right? It's going to be a whole generation before any manufacturing even comes close to what we need it to be back in the U.S.
I mean, you'll never get 100%, but
exactly. And I don't think you should expect it to be 100% made in the U.S. I don't think that's feasible. But if you can supply, let's say, more than half the majority of things that are that are required by, or in demand by the population here in the United States, and hopefully it should be here manufactured in the U.S., but it's not.
Well, and remember, our supply chain within the supply chain itself only holds 90 days worth of supplies.
Yeah.
So if it dries up anywhere, if something gets blocked up, you only got 90 days. That's it.
Taiwan
and that's not
goes
for
down.
everything. Yeah, that's not for everything. So at this point in time, make sure that you're buying a couple extra cans of food.
Yep.
Make sure you're growing that garden. Now's the perfect time, man. Start getting those gardens going.
Yeah, for those of you guys that have never really looked into prepping, that's a term used for
dirty word.
Dirty word. It's the conspiracy theorists, but no, it's just used. It connotates people that are preparing for a bad situation, right? doesn't mean they're preparing for the end of the world. Exactly. I mean, I think everybody should always be prepared for an emergency, whatever the case may be. Whether you just have a couple extra cans of beans or rice or whatever, just be ready. And if you guys need a couple good channels to follow, and if you want to learn about it, we'll post it down in the description below that you guys can check them out. Those are some of the channels that we ourselves follow, and follow their advice. But yeah, I mean, if you guys think that the government's going to bail you out and help you guys out on this thing, I mean, you guys are crazy. Because I think the current proposal actually is budget proposal is being blasted by a lot of critics, because the 1.65 billion is going to be cut from the USDA in this proposal. And so imagine we already have a crushing supply chain for food. And then the government and so it's like, we need that 1.68 billion for Pakistani gender studies instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anything has taught anybody anything, I mean, just through the COVID issue, you look at how people reacted over toilet paper.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens when food starts to become in thin supply. I mean, I go to Walmart, it's pretty close to where I live, and like there's hardly any pasta, man. And I mean, it's completely wiped out. And my favorite, it's just water, Topo Chico. There's no Topo Chico. But I mean, seriously though, you go to the meat aisle, I get my meat through one of those online stuff, and it's great. I keep getting it, but you know what they keep doing? They keep raising the prices.
And what's that service they use, Brian?
ButcherBox.
It's
just one of them. There's several of them. They're all pretty good from what I gather. ButcherBox I like specifically because they don't use hormones in the food. I guess the owner of the company, she was like you, man. She thought she was allergic to meat. Nope. And she just found out when she talked to farmers, she's like, nope, you're allergic to the hormones, you're allergic to all the steroids and all the stuff they put in the beef and the
growth hormone, all that kind of crap.
Yep. So they started getting clean meat, and they found out that she wasn't allergic to meat, and then so everybody liked the stuff that she was getting, and so that's how she started the company, her and her husband. But what I'm trying to get to is that even with that, the subscription services, I think when I started doing it, I was paying like $149 a month, and some people are probably like, holy crap, you're paying $149 for meat, and I was like, well, you just wait. You wait to see what meat's getting to here pretty soon.
His freezer is full of the best tasting natural meat I've ever had.
Yeah, I give away like so much bacon.
I love Brian's meat.
I think, Blake helped me move, and I paid him in bacon.
He did. Best transaction ever. If you'll permit me, can I go on a bit of a GMO rant here?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
all right, that's enough of that. On
another
note,
thank you for your time.
On another note, Brian's Meat. That's a good name for a company, man. Brian's Meat.
Dude, we remember we talked about that segment we're gonna do. We're gonna get to that eventually. We're not gonna name it on here yet. It's to come. We're gonna have a little
rant.
We're gonna have a little event. No,
Brian's Meat.
No, we're gonna have some fun. But anyway, sorry. Go continue on your rant.
So
what was the next story?
What's that? Yeah, let's talk about that.
It was funny the first time, guys. Now it's getting old.
Sorry. Okay.
You're fine.
All right, go for it. Go on your little rant.
Okay. I did biotechnology classes as a kid, and I actually love GMOs. But it's fun.
Oh, your mic went out. Oh no.
He's gonna write that.
Sorry. Okay, go for it. GMO.
Go ahead.
GMO.
All right.
GMO.
We're ready.
I love genetically modified foods. I really do. But I think there's a difference between having things that are hormonally changed and having something that goes through a process of actual benefit. Mm-hmm. Are you guys familiar with the Golden Rice Project?
A little bit.
It was a band of food scientists that wanted to design rice to be more nutritional for poor African communities. Mm-hmm. They wanted to address world hunger. The best access they had was rice. They designed this rice to grow in harsher conditions and to cover the nutrient gaps they had. It was tailor-made for these communities. They had the list of nutritions they were missing, so they made this golden rice cover it. And they produced it. They got it down there. Then a bunch of like anti-GMOs, hippies, natural foodies got upset that they were taking advantage of these poor communities that was going to lead to unresolved mutations and allergies that they and all of this was unfounded. The scientists knew the risks of genetically modifying and potentially getting new allergies because of it. They tested for it. They tested for other different types of mutations. Golden rice didn't do any of that. And the very communities that they was made for, the leaders at the time caught on to this controversy. They didn't want to take the risk. So they banned golden rice from being sold there and being developed. And it was such a sad situation. If you have the ability to, making farming more effective per density of land is one of the biggest approaches we have to solving world hunger. As we get bigger, we have to have farming techniques that produce more in a smaller space. And GMOs do genetically modified foods or organisms do a great job of shoring up weaknesses and being able to tailor make these foods for certain situations. Yeah, there are certain risks, but there's a lot of ways to cover those risks in experiments for those risks. So I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's funny that I bring it up as soon as you talk about hormones in beef. And then I'm on the side that's like, yeah, I want to eat natural food, natural beef, but I also am really excited about the science of genetically modifying these foods, because it's the same thing as selective breeding for certain traits in corn or apples. You're just hyper extending and accelerating the process into areas that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, I mean, I have such a different view on GMOs, man. Like, I understand like projects like that are great, and they help bridge the gap for a lot of communities and places to be more sustainable. But at the same time, I mean, you can't trust these companies that are developing these GMOs, man. Monsanto is like such a huge part of the reason why I think the current generation and future generations are so sick and need medication now, right? I mean, if you look back on maybe like 40, 60 years, you never saw this lactose intolerance. You never saw celiac disease in everyday Americans or populations around the world. And it's still to this day in places that are more focused on eating or because of the variety that they have are heirloom varieties and not GMOs, diseases like this don't exist as prevalent, right? So I think, whenever you're trying to, mess with the design that, that the ecosystem and nature provided for itself, I think you're playing with fire a little bit, right? I mean, the selective breeding, yeah, you want to selectively breed, the best tasting tomatoes that can withstand the best pestilence, right? That grow, the best in a certain area. And that's fine. But once you go in there and genetically modify things and add, change the genome of certain things, I think that's when you really start getting to the problem. And why, people like the lady from, Butcher Box was allergic to the meat, right? Because you're pumping in things full of things that it was never intentionally, made to ingest. And that goes with plants too.
I think I'll split the baby on this one, and I'll say that I think I can't speak for somebody who's starving in a certain country, and if it provides for them food for that, and the worst thing they have to worry about is maybe a gluten allergy when they're 80 years old or 60 years old, it's like, well, at least they're going to live to 60 years old instead of dying at 30. Hey, I'm all for that, but I want the choice, so if I don't want it, then, give me that choice. But that's what's great about a free market, because it provides you those options for that, Yeah, you'll probably pay more money for this stuff. Obviously, it's kind of like it's the whole why does healthy food cost more than McDonald's?
Yeah,
but if you want to be healthy, is it worth paying for it? If you can do it, sure. So for me, it's like I'll pay more for non-GMO'd meat, or non-steroid meat or whatnot. But at the same time, I want to provide the option for somebody who lives in an area who doesn't have access to food to be able to, for a mother not to sit there and have to look at her starving kids each and every day. I would rather provide them something and it has GMOs rather than just cut it all out. We saw this, I think, in the 80s when you guys remember it was some pesticide or whatnot that was killing or making eagles' eggs soft. You guys might be too.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It was thinning the ozone layer and all this stuff.
Yeah. It was like that's what it is.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, we're going to remove all this DDT. Well, then what happened? You saw these massive outbreaks of plague in Africa, and you saw people starving. It's like, well, because that was used for their pesticides. That was used to help feed them in that country, and you just took it away.
Without having an alternative solution, right?
You may not like it. I understand that. So then reduce it in the area that you're at, but And in a place that's they're worrying about what they're going to eat every single day, they don't care. And I'd rather them eat and have the ability for them to eat than have to worry about whether this is softening eagle eggs.
Yeah, and I want to clarify. I'm not opposed to GMOs being used in fashion. Freaking
anti-science,
anti-GMO vegetarian over here. But no, I'm definitely not opposed to GMOs being used, to feed the world and cure it of hunger. Yeah. Absolutely not. I'm opposed to the proliferation that GMOs are taking over the food supply. Everything is now GMO. Heirloom varieties and heirloom, grains are disappearing from the world, man. And
remember apples? Apples used to have how many different varieties of and now it's like you go to the store, what do you get? You get the red apple, you get the green apple, that's it.
Yeah, and they all come from one tree, right? It's all the same genome. That someone's like, oh, I like the apples from this tree, and they took that, grafted that, and proliferated that.
Well, and then it's also it's like I've been to plenty of stores. You get the apple, and you're eating it out of season, and just like I see some people they're eating, and they're like, yeah, it's not bad. I'm like, there's no flavor in this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or if you put the apple. Have you ever done this? You ever bought an apple from the store and you just leave it on the kitchen counter, watch it rot? You know how long it takes an apple to rot?
Oh wow!
It could be up there for over a month without getting one little blemish on it.
Yeah.
Bananas, it's like the day you buy them, they're getting freckles. It's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a sad thing that I just saw, like, the proliferation of it. But I'm like I said, I'm not opposed to it being used in certain situations where obviously benefits mankind. Mm-hmm. But I just think it's being used to a degree now in kind of a bad or evil way. I think to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm. What was that company you mentioned? Monsanto. If you guys ever have some free time to watch the documentary Food Incorporated.
Yeah,
they talk about the horrible business practices of Monsanto. That's like the idea. They went to Congress so they could patent genes that they developed for foods.
Yeah, genomes, yeah. I remember that.
Which was horrifying to me. As much as I love it, Monsanto, you're right, does really bad business practices. They find their genomes that got blown in the wind into other farmers, and they sue those farmers for having their patented genes.
Yeah.
During COVID, there was a doctor out there. I don't remember his name, but he was talking about creating some gene that makes people allergic to meat. I'm like, that's evil, dude.
Yeah, he's probably talking about like taking the Lone Star tick and like synthesizing its
that's exactly what he's
hormones
talking about.
and then just freaking darting people.
Yeah, and he's like, well, if we just maybe put this into people's food and they just create they just start getting an allergy to meat. And it's like, dude, that's evil, dude.
What is that? What's the biggest meat supplier company or processor in the United States? Tyson. I think they just said that by 2030 they're gonna. I think all meat's gonna be transitioned to like fake meat, like soy meat.
Really?
I'm like, what the freak? Like this, it's just practices. People. Yeah, practices like this is what I'm saying. I'm against, right? Like, if you want to eat that kind of stuff, man, there is a market for that for you to go buy and eat it. The majority of people don't want to eat that crap.
So I hope Jimmy Dean never does that. I want to get on the diet where it's like the only meat you eat is the meat you kill. I would love to do that, but I don't hunt enough to do that.
I was like, have you hunted?
Have you ever had deer?
Deer's kind of gamey, but I do like elk.
It depends on when you hunt it, and it depends on how they process it.
I've had deer jerky that was freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, deer's amazing. I mean, I went to college down in Georgia, and my dad's got some land out in middle Georgia, and it's like deer capital of the world, man. And those things are, if you own a garden, they're pests. I mean, they're absolutely terrible. You shoot them on sight because it's just
hang socks with soap in it.
Anyway, but they taste phenomenal. But you got to get them during certain seasons. There's a show I watch called Meat Eater.
Oh yeah,
great show.
Great show.
And he shows you he's like this is the time you should be hunting. You always want to hunt before they start rutting.
Mm-hmm.
So they're nice and fat. It's like once they start thinning, when they start rutting and they start protruding those oils
glands,
and stuff like that. He's like, once your knife catches that and you're cleaning that animal, oh, it's done. It ruins it.
Yeah, like I never knew that deer had freaking scent glands, like multiple ones in their legs, and so I was like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
and he I saw him cut him out. He's like, "Yeah, you always want to cut these out before you cut the haunches." I was like, "What the hell, dude?"
I always get people that are like, "Would you try this?" I'm like, any animal, you name it, I will try it. I'm down, but I would like to hunt it.
Yeah, I want to go hunt, man, but I'll donate the meat, man. I'll do it.
You heard about that, right?
Yeah.
In Louisiana, where they had all these hunters, they were donating all of this meat to the homeless shelter, like hundreds of pounds of meat they did not have to worry about food. And the government came in and it was all like, well, we don't know where this meat came from. We don't know if it was sourced correctly. And they like poured bleach all over it.
Yeah.
Like, what a bunch of bastards, man.
I know.
They want to keep people down, man. That's what it is. It's all.
Isn't that what they do?
It's all a government plot, man.
Isn't that what they do with African expeditions? Like those hunters pay millions of dollars to shoot old retired African lions, and they give all the meat to the local communities, right?
I've never heard about that.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm not a.
That'd be interesting.
I'm not a trophy. I've never been hunting. I'm not a trophy hunter. To me, it's like I want to kill the deer. I want to process the deer. I want to package the deer. I want to store the deer, and I want to eat the deer for the next year.
I want to make a wallet out of its skin.
But it's like I want to use every part of it. I want to source it correctly.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of hunters. Most of these hunters, like people don't know this, like they're big,
conservationists.
Yeah, like
there's no bigger conservationists than hunters.
yeah, because you get a lot of these animals, they start getting overpopulated and they start eating up all the undergrass and stuff like that. Certain trees can't grow in certain areas. Remember in Yellowstone, was it Yellowstone? They killed all the wolves.
Yeah, so it's in Yellowstone. Then the
killed
elk population started ravaging like the streams and stuff and destroying it.
Yeah, and just by bringing back wolves, where they were able to, the wolves, just by hunting the overpopulation of elk, were actually able to move the rivers.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
You know?
Yeah, but then they like obviously farmers like in
but-
Montana and stuff started getting angry because they started going after some of their cows and stuff, cattle. Yeah. It's like, well, what's
Well, what about overfishing? You see that, I think, in now it's starting to pop up, overfishing of like tuna. You see out in Japan overfishing of certain stuff.
Even just like sardines and stuff. Man.
Yeah, like I'm a libertarian on a lot of stuff, but when it comes to preserving nature and whatnot, I do have my beliefs. It's like, hunt. If you're gonna do these fishing and whatnot, it's like, yeah, sure, you should do it ethically. You should make sure that you don't overfish, you don't overhunt, whatever it may be, and allow them to rebreed and repopulate, man.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of shows where fishermen like Deadliest Catch and stuff. They're like, oh, our quota got cut down again. It's like, well, you started fishing, or like your father started fishing, or your grandpa started fishing when like there was no laws about it. You could just go and catch whatever you wanted for like the amount of time that you wanted to be out there, right? Yeah. And like, but so like conservationists really didn't like play effect until just recently, the last couple of decades. So.
You're in Alaska, because the only people that are allowed to hunt polar bears are the natives, right?
Inuits. Yeah.
And like they're having this massive explosion of polar bears, and they're like, we need more people to come hunt the polar bears, because apparently you can go hunt with an Inuit. Like you can go out with them and hunt. That's the only way.
On their license?
Yeah, and it's like they're just like, we need people to come hunt these things, because apparently the whole thing about polar bears just going away was a complete farce. Who knew?
And that little old Alaska, that little tiny place.
Yeah, they're exploding in population, and they need help hunting them.
I heard bear meat was like the pioneers' favorite meat to eat, man.
Yeah, like
bear meat was like the delicacy.
If you had deer meat, you were poor. If you had bear meat, you were on top of things. Like you had the prime meat. Like,
I've never even had the chance to try bear meat. I've had the chance to try crocodile meat.
Ask me if I would try bear meat.
Would you try? Okay. Mike, would you try bear? Never mind.
I'll try it.
You'll try it? Worth the itch, right?
I'll try it.
Yeah.
If it's cooked the right way.
Can we
got to wait a show segment.
Give me
a try.
Somebody standing over me with like an EpiPen. They're like, huh?
Yeah. Does your lungs shut down if you eat too much meat?
Yeah.
Or your esophagus, not lungs?
No. So what happens is like I'll start, depending on the meat and stuff, like I'll get like really itchy, and I'll have like I'll like break out in hives, and I'll start sweating, and then eventually if it's bad enough, like I'll just start like my throat will start closing up, or I'll just start vomiting like hysterically.
Whoa. He just has to swallow the meat really quickly.
Yeah. Or ingest it through other means.
No, we did the whole testing on the bacon thing, and I was just like, dude, you have to try it. You have to try it, because remember what you told me.
And I was itchy for the first couple times.
No,
man.
look, he was like, look, if I'm gonna go out, I want to go out with some bacon.
And it was butcher box bacon, like the thick one. And I was I was like, burn the shiz out of it, dude.
I still did a pretty decent job.
Pretty
I didn't overcook it,
dude. It was good. I'm not gonna lie, because it also for me, obviously I'll get like a reaction from when I eat meat. But the thing for me is actually the texture of meat, right? Like the chewiness, like like chicken, fish. Like I can't have it, man. Like it's something ingrained in me.
That's
man.
guacamole for me, dude. Like avocado.
Yeah, like just like that chewy stringiness. Like I can't have that, man.
Everything you guys are talking about is what I love. Yeah, we need to eat bear meat.
You like that soft thing in your mouth? Wait, what? I didn't catch that last one. Sorry. What was that?
Yeah, Mike will give us all the meat, and we'll give him all the avocados.
Dude, I will take a piece for my wife and kids, and then I will donate the rest. I was like, who wants my deer's ass? I'll donate it, man. I don't care. I'll sell it. I mean,
where can you get bear meat?
You have to hunters?
Hunt for it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can buy it,
you
man.
get a license for it, yeah.
Well, to hunt, but to buy the meat, yeah, you can buy it from hunters. It's just so they have to market it as not a USDA certified if it wasn't butchered by a USDA certified processor, but they can still sell it. It's like farmers that sell whole milk, right? They can't label it as for human consumption. It has to be for animal feed. Yeah. But they still put it in the fridge
for animals.
Dude, straight fresh milk is one of the best milk I've ever had.
It's delicious, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, the butter on top.
Yeah. Wow. You need a moment?
And it's close to dinner time, oddly enough.
Yeah. I always grew up, you're always told this stuff, right? That, raw milk will kill you, right? Yeah. It's deadly. It'll kill you. It's full of bacteria and poisons. It's
make you fat.
Well, so there was a dairy not too far from where my dad lives in Georgia. And the guy, he sells the raw milk, right? And so I went up there. I was like, well, how does this, because I was still cautious. I had never had it. And he's all like, okay. He's like, I get this question all the time. He's like, he's all like, our cows are clean. He's like, that's the biggest thing. He's like, where you're milking the cow, the teat, he's like, you have to clean that. He's like, you using septics, all that. I can't speak, but you're cleaning it thoroughly.
They wipe those titties, man. Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, and then the equipment too. Equipment's super clean. He's like, at any point in time, if anything's contaminated, he's like, we have to re-clean everything. Yeah, top to bottom. He's like, so everything's super clean. And the other thing is you refrigerate it. After you're done with it, you refrigerate it. But the problem is with processed milk is that they cook it, right?
Pasteurize it, right?
Yeah, when you pasteurize it, you kill, all the bacteria, but also, guess what else you kill? Anything that's in there that's good for you. Now, I will say this, though. I'm one of those people, you should, as much as I do love raw milk, I always say, hey, don't drink so much cattle milk, right? Yeah. That milk was designed to take a 200-pound baby cow and turn it into a 1,000-pound bull in like a couple months. It's like, so it's not designed for you.
We come back in 6 months, we're just like, yolk.
Yeah, but it does taste really good, man.
Yeah, it's good, man. No, but yeah, the process that like homesteaders and cattle producers do is they'll soak the teat in that brown fluid that they use to sterilize patients before surgery. I forgot what it's called, iodine or something. Yeah. And then after that, they'll wipe it down. They'll spray it down with water, and then they'll test the milk for like mastitis. Yeah. That's the way you have to be careful about, right? It's like a super quick test, takes like 2 seconds, and after it's okay, they're like, okay, cool. And then they'll like put on these like suction cups, and then get the milk, and then they'll bottle it up and refrigerate it, and it's good to go, man.
Are you getting cows for your homestead?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, me and my wife, we're trying to plan to get a homestead and live that sustainable life. And yeah, there's this thing called a little mini Jersey cow.
Oh yeah.
So it's like half the size of a real Jersey cow, and they're great, man. Super gentle and like
a Shetland cow.
Yeah, man. It's like, imagine a midget cow. Like that's what it is, man. And so we're gonna get that. Hopefully, I mean that. I think a cow is like the last thing you want to get when you're like homesteading, right? You want to start with like chickens and like maybe like add some pigs, goats. Sheep, yeah, and then the cow, right? Because I mean, once it's producing milk, man, it like, dude, all these homesteaders, if you watch some YouTube channels on them, they're like, we don't know what to do with all this milk. Yeah, it's like I have like 600 gallons of raw milk. Like, what
chickens
do you do
with eggs, man? They just keep producing the eggs.
Yeah,
like, we can do all these eggs,
man. But if you go to a farmer's market and try to sell like pasture raised chicken eggs, man, those things sell out like they're the very first thing that sell out at farmers markets, man. Like if you're not there in like the first hour, you're done, man. You're not getting eggs.
What's really interesting too is like in the United States we refrigerate eggs, but if you go to anywhere else in the world, they don't refrigerate them. Yep. But I think it's how we clean them.
Bleach the crap out of those.
No, it's because we wash the eggs. Yeah. So if you wash the eggs, there's a coating on an egg that if you don't wash it, it's totally fine. They can stay out and be fine. But if you do, you have to be refrigerated to stay out.
I was in England and I went shopping. I was working for this grocery chain. I used to work for Lidl. And they had this Lidl. They're like the Walmart out in Europe. They're massive, right?
Yeah.
And no, they are not related to Aldi. Okay, I keep hearing that all the time. Anyway, so I went to go get some eggs, and I'm like looking around the refrigerated area, and I can't find the eggs, and I'm just like, one of the guys I was working, I was like, dude, where's the eggs at? And he's all like, they're by the bread, and I'm like, what? And you go over there, and they're just sitting there in the warm air or whatever. And I had a friend of mine, he was from Austria, and he told me about that. And he goes, yeah, dude, you just leave the eggs on the counter, man. He's like, they don't go bad. What they used to do to preserve eggs, they actually used to get a bowl of salt, and they used to put the egg in the salt, and they'd put it down in the basement. Yep. And then you can preserve it long term. That's like
because the salt will suck up all the moisture and keep it good.
Yeah, it keeps out any bacteria.
Yeah, like my mother-in-law, she, bless her soul, man, she's like the nicest lady in the world. She keeps some chickens at her house in Wisconsin, right? And when you go to her house, man, she just has a bowl full of eggs.
Yeah, there's old paintings. You'd see the old metal basket of eggs in it and stuff like that, but just sitting on the counter.
Imagine you didn't know. You thought they were like toy, and you just like grab and like start throwing it around. It's like a real egg.
I tested it though. I actually bought I bought some eggs here, and I just tested it out, and I left them out. Yeah, no problem. They say once you refrigerate them, you don't want to keep them unrefrigerated.
Yeah, take them out again.
But I tried it anyway. I'm just one of those people. I'm like, don't tell me no. I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't take many chickens to produce enough eggs to cover for a whole family.
Dude, I mean, those chickens, like if you get like real like egg laying chickens that were like bred to like lay eggs, man, those suckers will lay eggs all year.
Yeah. I think they lay like almost every day, don't they?
Yeah, it's like they lay almost like, I mean, the big egg layers, they'll lay like 260 or like 300 days a year, egg every day, if not more sometimes. So, yeah, have you seen those chickens that are like full black? Like even when you kill them, like their skin is black and everything. Like,
they're expensive.
Are those modified? Like, or is that?
No, they were just bred. So they're like Sayani Ai or something like chickens, but they're pretty cool, man. I'd be like, dude,
how much are those things?
They're expensive, man.
Super expensive.
It's hard to find them.
But I mean, is it you're just buying it for the look, or is it
you're buying it for like the look, the breed? Yeah. I mean, there's certain restaurants I'm sure that would be like, dude, we want black chicken. And their eggs are black and stuff. It's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. Well, from what I gather, there's like a whole litany of roosters.
Yeah.
Different, whatever. You got the ones that look like they're furry.
Oh, you saw the ones in China, like the sacred ones there? They have like these like massive like dinosaur legs.
Really?
They're like super thick. Yeah, they're like, they love those things out there. I'm like, man, that's freaking weird.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah.
Yeah, when we get property, we want a Texas cow and a Jersey cow.
Yeah. Did you guys get a good amount of acreages for?
Not this house. Next house, we're going to get all much better acreages. We couldn't afford the acreage we wanted, so but we farm sit for some families. They have sheep that they slaughter their lambs. Mm-hmm. Lamb meat's delicious. All farm grown meat is delicious, but homesteading is a big thing we want to do too.
Some people think lamb is pretty gamey. They don't like it actually.
Yeah,
I guess it's also when you butcher it and stuff.
I've had it out in Wales and it's gamey to me no matter what. So it's like I had sushi in Japan, amazing, right? But I love sushi, so. But anyway, with lamb, I've had it everywhere, and it's always gamey to me.
I like lamb.
Yeah. Well, you suck.
So it's called
I especially like to name them before the slaughter, so I know.
Don't name the choves.
The frozen choves. Shout out to what was it? What's it?
No, go ahead. Go. Nope. Go. What is it? What is it, Mike?
I don't remember.
Come on. You gotta say it.
National Lampoon.
Yeah, there's some fishing out in the Atlantic, and I can't remember the name of it, but they were like naming these choves. He was like giving them names. The guys like, "Don't name the choves."
That's the bait they use on the ship called Wicked Tuna
for sword fishing or something like that, or
no Wicked
Tuna.
Tuna.
Yeah.
Wicked Tuna, I think.
Tuna's huge.
Yeah,
it depends.
No, Battlefish. That's what it's called, Battlefish on Netflix. And there's this ship called the Opportunity, and they use frozen choves as bait when they're trolling for these. They're like smaller tuna, not like those big bluefin tuna. But then the guy's like naming them. He's like, the captain's like, "Don't name the frozen choves, bro." And the fisherman names his name is Thor. I'm like, this is so great, man.
It'd be surprising sometimes some of the shows you find on like Netflix. You know, you get bored, you find everything else. You're like, oh, what is it? You know what? I'm gonna watch it. I got nothing else going on. Find some random fishing show.
Dude, that's one of the worst things about the pandemic, man. Like, they stopped making shows because of it, and you go through everything. You're like, oh, there's nothing else.
Tiger King was a jewel.
I never watched
it.
It was.
I refuse.
It was a beautiful train wreck of absurdity and chaos.
What's the next story we got going on here?
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So we got We want to talk a little bit about faith. Blake, you want to jump into this for us?
Yeah. I think about forgiveness. I think we all could use a lot more of it in our lives. I'm always big into emotional and mental well-being, and I think mental well-being requires a lot of forgiveness, both of ourselves and other people.
Like that pink shirt. But
I forgive you.
I love pink, so
I forgive you.
I forgive you
not
too.
pink, it's salmon. Okay. So this article is
Go for it.
is one of the better, like short, succinct articles on forgiveness. You know, what are the steps to forgiveness? You just let it go, or do you have to reconcile with them? This guy goes on the difference between reconciliation and forgiveness. Like, you can forgive someone without trusting them or having them in your life. And that's a really big distinction. And forgiveness involves overcoming the mental and emotional healing that you need so you can focus on your life and move on with your life. So scrolling down later on the article.
And this article is on Psychology Today.
Yes.
It's called 4 Elements of Forgiveness by Ryan House, PhD.
Yes, PhD psychologist. It was published 2009, but I think it still holds true today. I'm not going to say that this is the best model of forgiveness in the world, but I think it's short, succinct, and effective. And I like how he talks about the steps. You have A, B, C, and then 4.
Nice.
And that is intentional. The first thing you need are some elements of forgiveness. You have to express the emotion that you're feeling. You have to understand why you feel that way. You have to rebuild the safety. And then the last step is you have to finally let go. The reason why he has A, express the emotion, B, understand why, and C, rebuild safety, and then 4, let go. A, B, C do not have to happen in order. You can go back and repeat them. Some steps need to be done multiple times. Some steps need to be done once, first, last. But you have to understand why you're feeling the hurt that you're feeling or the anger. And then you have to do the necessary things you need to do to prevent that kind of hurt from happening again. Rebuild the safety. People talk about, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. You have to be careful what you mean by that. If you by I'll never forget means I know how to guard myself for the future, or I know how to observe, that's a good way to view it. But if it's like I'm holding a grudge or I'm waiting for that guy to make a mistake, that's not forgiving. You haven't done the steps. You're not letting go. You're holding this in your back pocket to throw a dagger at them in the future. He goes into further depth on each step in the article. The element A, express the emotion. Whatever the crime or injustice or violation, the forgiver needs to fully express how it's made them feel. One of the best things I've learned from Stoic philosophy is this idea of mindfulness, that you have to be mindful of your environment. You have to live in the now, and you have to be honest about your emotions to yourself and acknowledge them. This isn't about repressing emotions. This isn't about ignoring them. It's about identifying them, owning them, and being able to understand them, which is our next element. Understand why. Our brain will continue to search for some explanation until it's satisfied. Maybe we won't agree on the rationale, but we need to have some schema that explains why the act took place. In some situations, even an acceptance of randomness can be a sufficient paradigm. Then we rebuild safety, and then we have to let go. This even works for an abusive relationship. Mm-hmm. Nowhere in these steps does he talk about sitting face to face with a person and telling them. Nowhere in these steps does this say, let them back into your life or let them back into your house. This is not reconciliation. Reconciliation is where you go and have a face-to-face with the person and you try to reconcile. I don't think every relationship warrants a reconciliation, but you personally, all these steps on forgiveness, they are all internal. They're all about you. Inside the LDS Church, and I think this is even in New Testament, I, the Lord God, will forgive whom I forgive. Mm-hmm. But of you it's required of all men to forgive. Is that D&C or is that Testament?
Both.
It's a common thing we say in the church. And I want to live up to that acknowledgement of forgiving everyone. And I think these steps re-emphasizes that forgiveness is internal. It's about you. You can do it without ever having a face-to-face to the person that's wronged you. And forgiving someone, again, I want to emphasize, if this has been an abusive relationship or a crime against you, you can forgive them without trusting them. You can forgive them without letting it back in your life. It's about understanding why you feel that way, knowing how you can be comfortable and accept it and guard against it for the future, and then letting go so you can focus on your life and let go of the burden. So what do you two think of these steps?
We should just bring back dueling.
Dueling?
Yeah. I mean, you can't go through life without being hurt, and you can't go through life without experiencing, terrible emotions. You can't go through life without sin. You can't go through life without experiencing life and life happening to you. That's always a saying, it's like I always have a plan until life happens to me. But I will say, in my personal life, I've been hurt really bad. I mean, emotionally just crushed. You want to talk about getting your teeth kicked in, getting your nuts crushed. I've been there. I've been in every single one of those bad situations. But I always knew that, through prayer, through asking, God to take those pains away, that he would. However, that was only part of the process, right? He'll take those pains away, but they can come back, right? If you keep remembering them or if you keep harboring on them or whatever it may be. And what I realized was that, when you truly forgive someone, regardless of what they did to you, right? And you forgive them, that is like 90% of the plan. It's not 100%. It's about 90% for me. And when I forgave the people that hurt me, and I asked God to not hold anything towards them, and just as, I wouldn't anymore, it was like the massive weight just lifted off your shoulder. You're taking that garbage and you're just getting rid of it. You're just lifting it off your shoulders, and man, it's like, it makes you feel so much better.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think forgiveness is it's a very important part of, everybody's life, right? Everybody's gonna be, insulted, and, everyone's gonna be hurt at one point in their life or not. Right. And I think, it's, what really eats you up inside and like holds you back from, moving on in life and like being happy is all that resentment that people hold in their hearts. Right.
Yep.
Because that just festers, turns into anger, it turns into self-loathing sometimes, turns into, maybe revenge or vengeance. And that consumes your life. Right. So, being members of the church, we know that, putting our trust and love in Heavenly Father, he can lift those burdens from us. Whether that be, him doing 99.9% of the work to ease our suffering and us putting in that 0.1%, if that's all we can do, then that's all we can do. And he's happy with that and understands that. But that's also why Christ, died on the cross for us. He's experienced all that pain, emotional, physical, spiritual. And he's gone through that. And so he's done that for us. Right. Yep. And if we really center our lives on that and on understanding that somebody has gone through that and has come out the other side and understands us in that way, I think we can move forward ourselves in each situation. And I think it's that's why being grounded in our faith is so important and so beneficial to members of the church and to other people, not just being members of the church, but that have faith in Christ. Because if you don't have that anchor point, you're kind of like lost, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have direction. You don't know what to do. Like, the article is great, and people break it down. But a lot of people will read this and they'll be like, "What does this mean?" Right? Like, is this just words that I'm reading? Can I understand it? And if you have a reference to understand it, and where people come from that are writing this, and how to apply it, I think that's what's important.
Yeah,
having direction.
Part of it is too is like you gotta when you're at your lowest, when you just feel like I can't forgive this person, that's when you have to do it.
Yeah,
and it's so therapeutic. And let's take religion out of it for a second. Let's just imagine someone who is more secular, atheist, whatever it may be. Forgiveness is therapeutic, right? If you look at it from a Stoic perspective, the Stoics believe that if you choose to be hurt, then you'll be hurt. But as soon as you take that action to not be hurt, what are you doing? You're forgiving, right? Whether it's yourself or somebody else, you're releasing that burden, you're releasing that poison, and that's just gonna make your life better. It's gonna free everything up.
But it's also taking control of your life, right? forgiving somebody or forgiving even yourself or even, God or whatever it is taking control of your life back, right? Because that anger, that resentment, that's controlling your life, your thoughts, your emotions. I mean, that's why, like Buddhists that meditate, they're like, when you meditate, you have no emotion, you're a blank slate, you're in control. And I think when, we all lose control of our emotions at one point or another. And when we do that, I think we got to recenter, refocus, and, take control again. Right. And those that do are able to overcome things. And those that don't, well, sometimes they're just stuck.
Yeah. If you think of it that just like there are only so many hours in a day, you only have so much internal energy, right? You have only so many hours to think and contemplate. You only have so much emotional strength. If you spend all that being angry, then angry you will be, and grudges you will hold about other people. If you can let it go, you have freed up that internal energy and that thinking time to focus on your goals and stuff you want to be and places you want to go. You can stand in the same place for a long time holding a grudge, but it's hard to stand in the same place working and improving yourself. You'll be in a better spot than you will before.
Yeah, I think, Larry Elder talked about how he hated his dad. Like they got in and he hated his dad for, I think they didn't speak for like 20 plus years or something like that. He was upset about him about something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Who is this?
Larry Elder.
And who's that for those of us?
So Larry Elder is an amazing, he was an attorney, started his own business, actually headhunting. And then he turned around, sold that business for a pretty good amount of money. Got into radio, talk show. He's a conservative who happens to be black. And he is probably one of the biggest red pillars of Dave Rubin and what's her name? Candace Owens.
Yep. Great guy all around. He just recently tried running for governor of California.
Yep. So he talked about his relationship with his dad, and he's like, his dad had nothing, moved out to California, worked on the railroads, did all this stuff, and he, at some point in time, I forget what it was, like I said, he and his dad fell apart. And it wasn't until he sat down with his dad it was like a restaurant somewhere, and his dad was like, he's like, what is wrong with you? And his dad, Larry Elder, he said for like an hour, he just spewed out everything, at the table, whatnot. And his dad's like, that's it? And he was like, it was so funny because it's like once he let all of that out and, kind of reconciled with his dad, you go through that process of forgiveness.
Yeah.
It was like now he has this great relationship with his dad. I don't know if his dad's still alive. I'm not 100% certain, but he rebuilt that relationship with his dad. I saw the same thing with my dad. It wasn't by choice that he had a bad relationship with his dad, but there was some bad blood going on there that was more so on his dad's side. But at some point in time, he forgave his dad, and they had a good relationship going towards the end of his life. It's like, personally, my birth mom, I don't call her mom, but my birth mom, she basically like abandoned me to my dad when I was 6. And, I didn't see a birthday card. I didn't get a phone call, nothing until I was 16. I mean, I harbored some resentment, man.
Yeah.
I was out there cussing her out and this and that. I just remember my dad one day pulled me to the side and he's like, I don't ever want to hear a bad word come out of your mouth about your mom again. He's like, you don't know her. You are not old enough to make any kind of judgment call on her. He's like, you have to wait till you meet her. But the biggest thing was he didn't want me to hold that resentment and poison myself. Well, I did meet her when I was 16, right? She came out of the blue. I got to meet her. And after I met her, I felt sorry for her, But the biggest thing was like, I forgave her. I had to forgive her, And I'll call her every once in a while, and I'll be like, hey, what's going on? Phone call is like 5 minutes, But she never calls me. But the thing is like, I don't hold any ill will towards her. I feel sorry for her, but I don't hold any ill will towards her, I forgive her.
Everybody has their own demons, man. To some, it might seem like a mountain, and then once you retrospectively look at it and ponder it, and, it's just a little hill.
Yep.
But climbing that little hill sometimes could be, a daunting task.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes it's not like those big relationships or those big moments. Sometimes it's like the little things, like with your friends or with your wife or your family. You can see these little grudges, like how you clean, how you put stuff away, how you drive. There's these little battles that you try to hold something in your quivers to get ready for the next argument. I mean, that is not a relationship built on forgiveness, and it's not a good foundation for a relationship to build on. Be able to forgive your partner and forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, and allowing that to just be let go and be like, hey, we are building a life together. I'm not going to make you feel bad. I'm not going to wait to jump down your throat when you make a mistake because you made me feel bad that one time. It's a big step, but it's a little thing that can build up into a mountain unless you identify it early and understand it early. And then you can get rid of those pebbles and level out the playground. My wife and I do these check-in things that we learned from a therapist, where we hold each other's hands to each other's chest and we express our emotions and how we did throughout the day. And I'm so grateful for those check-ins with her, because it really levels the playing field, because I can get too petty. And it's something I want to work on, about forgiving her quickly and forgiving myself quickly.
That's the thing too, right? I mean, you hit on that too. I think forgiveness of yourself is the absolute hardest thing to do. Yeah. I have done some absolute terrible things in my life, and it is really difficult to forgive myself for it. The biggest thing was always that I wanted to make sure I was right with God, Mm-hmm. And, I begged and pleaded for forgiveness for years, for certain things that I'd done. And eventually it was like, I felt that spirit telling me, it's like, you're good. You're good. You don't have to keep self-flagellate. You don't have to keep
dragging it.
Yeah. It's like, it's done. It's over. It's gone, Then you have to go through the process of forgiving yourself, and, like I said, you don't forget it, but you can't allow that to hold you down, and I think you see that currently too with like people with PTSD. They go through war and some of the terrible things they have to do in war, and it's like the brain is trying to process that stuff, and they keep reliving it and reliving it and reliving it. And it's like, you had to do some terrible things to keep yourself alive, but you got to forgive yourself at some point in time. Yeah. You have to give that up to God, let him deal with that, and take it off your shoulders. Somebody brought up recently, and I don't know if it was through our church or something else, where they were talking about, it's like, no matter how deep you go, no matter how lost you may feel, do you think that Jesus Christ's light can't reach you? Is his light not that strong enough to reach you? Absolutely. He can reach you anywhere, and you have to forgive yourself no matter how far down in the depths you are, man. You got to give it up.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories was a bishop talking to a young woman who said, for the things I've done, I don't understand why he could love me. And I loved how he put this. And the bishop said, stare at this picture. It's a picture of Christ. And he said, I want you to keep staring to that till we see the same thing. If I understand you, saying that guy is so perfect, so loving, that he wants nothing to do with you. When I look at that, I see someone so perfect and loving that no matter what you've done, he still loves you, because he knows there's bigger things. Can we sit here until we see the same thing? And I think how powerful that is. I think God forgives us quicker than we forgive ourselves. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people think this, but at the final judgment, when we are standing in front of God, I don't think it's God keeping us out of heaven or out of his presence.
It's you.
I think it's our guilt that will keep him out of our presence.
Yep.
And we may not be aware of that until we see our entire mortality and why things played out the way they are, and see our morality relative to his, that we understand that level of guilt. And boy, self-forgiveness is going to be really important at that point if we want to give our chance an opportunity to be happy.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mortal viewpoint, but God has an eternal one. So, with that being said, thanks
We've
a lot,
taken
guys.
a lot of time. This is a big episode.
Yeah, big episode. Thanks a lot. Always good being here with you guys and talking about this stuff. And for everybody else, thanks a lot for joining us. Please subscribe, share this podcast with your friends, family.
Where can they find us?
They can find us on Gab. They can find us on YouTube, Rumble as well. We are working on some other pages as well. If you want to support us, you can find us on Locals. And remember to hit that smash that like button. And again, share this with your friends and family. We're just trying to, grow the channel and just share our thoughts with you guys and our opinions. And, all the support and from you guys really helps. And we love seeing your guys' comments, and we're trying to, apply it in a timely fashion. But we also do lead normal lives, because we are not, celebrities yet, but we will get there.
God forbid.
Yeah. But on that note, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.